Welcome back to Mic'd Up the Game Changer edition. My name's Rachelle with TTB Media and Consulting. And today we are hopefully at the point where you're starting to wrap up those holiday practices. You are getting ready for potentially your gym to take a break. Maybe you're running classes or clinic during the holidays. But December is just one of those months that I don't know about you, but I feel like November and December fly by, and I don't know where it went. And I feel like there were so many things that happened between showcase. Maybe you have a first competition already. Maybe it's this weekend. Um, and it's just a busy time between holidays, and then you have your own personal things happening in your life. So whether you are tuning in from the office or your car, or you're just trying to get a quick break in between classes, I am so glad that you are here. Today, we are diving into a topic that every successful gym owner and business needs to think about now and not later. And that's talking about setting yourself up for a successful year, which I know can kind of be one of those confusing topics because we talk about our years as a season typically. So we think about it as okay, tryouts are in May, practices start in June, and then our season runs until April. And so we also get into the habit of only thinking within a season. So I want you to kind of take a step back from that and think about the new year as an opportunity to check in on your season and also set yourself up so that you're having a successful next season, right? We want to make sure that we're planning ahead and thinking strategically and not just reacting or being like, oh, I need to get that up in 2 weeks or I haven't started marketing that. So I know that it can feel like, oh my gosh, we're so busy. We're getting into competition season, holidays, and all of those things. But planning now allows you to be intentional before you go into we have competitions every single week. Maybe you're a gym that has to travel. Maybe you're a little bit more remote to a competition area. And so I know when I lived in Ontario, I had to drive 6 hours one way to get to, most competitions. And so driving that way, driving back, spending your whole weekend at competitions every single week can be really tiring. So taking time while you have the space and the capacity, maybe during the holidays, and you take one day where it's just, I'm going to focus on building my business and I'm going to focus on my business since I'm not in my business. So we're going to break it down into 4 areas that I like to think about when you're planning, and that looks at planning itself, your finances, marketing, and then also one that we don't talk about as often, which is delegation. Okay, so the first section. So planning. And what I mean by planning is strategic planning. So please raise your hand. I know I've not been the only one years before that you just figured it out. You just reacted to what was in front of you. You either had an email come in from a client or a family, and you're like, okay, I've got to do this. I've got to, maybe I want to add summer camps this year. And okay, we're going to add it next week. But what I really want you to think about is to make 2026 your strongest year, or any year your strongest year, you have to think not as a coach and you need to think not as a season. So you want to look at it as put yourself in that place, like put your owner's hat on, put your CEO hat on, and think strategically and ask yourself some really important questions. So when it comes to planning, starting with a plan is really, that's what's going to set you up for success. So not just from a business perspective in terms of revenue, but also from your staffing, and then looking at what are your goals going forward. So when you're looking at your year, you can look at it as 2 sort of things. Look at it as an entire year, so from January to December, and then I also like to look at it as a season. So looking at from this season to now, because that will help you one, adjust for the upcoming year, but two, now you're about the midway through your season. So what was working and what do you need to change going into the second part of the season to make it even more successful? So some questions to ask yourself are about yourself. What did you like about your business in the past year? So was it the ability to be on the mats because you love coaching and you want to coach? Is it that you brought on more staff members and you were able to take more time with your family? Was it the fact that you were able to tuck in your kids in bed every night because you weren't coaching the 6 p.m. teams? So what did you like the best about your business? And then the opposite, what did you like the least about your business? So was it that you were on the mats too much and therefore couldn't get your owner's task done? Was it that your marketing struggled and you either need to bring in someone on your team to cover it, or you need to hire someone like an agency like us to cover that so that you can be successful? It also could be, did you like going to out of province, out of country, out of state competitions? Is that something that you want to do? Maybe you didn't have a good time or your parents didn't enjoy it. So what are your other options? Okay, so of those, thinking about different questions that you can ask about yourself. Then the other side that you can do is ask questions about your operations. So looking at your enrollment and your revenue goals. So how many new athletes joined in the new year? Was that within what you wanted? Was your revenue less, equal, or more than it was last year? If you set a goal for yourself to hit a certain revenue goal or hit a certain enrollment goal, did you hit those? Why or why not? So asking those questions lets you know where you're at, but also where you need to grow. And you can sit there and be critical and say, okay, why did it not happen? And this is one of those things that we need to put our egos aside and we need to put any kind of considerations to the side and say, okay, why did it not work? Were we late on our marketing? Did we have a staff member that was struggling throughout the year and they needed more support? And we didn't offer them that. Was it that you didn't have enough money set aside, right? So now you're paying out of pocket for competition fees or extra uniforms that randomly popped up that you're like, oh, I didn't budget that, right? So making sure to put your ego aside and really ask those hard questions, because if we're not asking those questions, we can't move forward. I had a prof in college that had a great saying that was, you don't know what you don't know. And so you need to sit there and go through, what do I not know? Or what do the areas that I need to work on? Okay. So also within that, you can look at staffing. So planning staffing. So how well did your staff meet your expectations for the season? Do they need additional training? Are there staff members that can then provide training to other staff members because they did so well in an area? So for example, did you have a tiny coach that rocked it and you want to do more training on how to be a stronger rec or preschool coach? How much turnover did you have for staff? And if you had a lot of turnover, why? And how do you address it going forward? And how did you address it when it happened so that you can grow from that area? And then another one is, like we said, financials. What was your biggest source of income? So what were the key programs that did well? What were the programs that did not do well? What are programs that you want to grow in the next year, or maybe even stop doing because they haven't been successful or they need a rejig of what you're doing? So one thing that you can do is go through and do that. So looking at your year as a whole, looking at what months were the strongest, where did you lose momentum? A lot of gyms find that they tend to lose momentum in the summer. So what can we do to fill those months, like summer camps, classes, clinics, level up, um, different things like that, to fill that momentum when you feel that. Also looking at SWOT analysis. So your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. So your strengths and your weaknesses come from within your business, and your opportunity and your threats come from outside your business. So looking at those and allowing you to focus on your strengths, identify your weaknesses, take advantage of the opportunities, and then prepare for potential threats. And threats don't necessarily have to be um, like a pandemic shuts down, right? It doesn't have to be really big, massive things. It could be things that could impact your day to day operations. So, for example, um, in Liz's case, she has a couple of her full time staff members who are starting to think about planning families. So, in the case where they choose to start their families and they need to take maternity or paternity leave, what is she doing to fill those spaces, right? So, if you have staff members like that, maybe it's you have a staff member that gets sick. Do you have a action plan in place should something like that happen? So things that aren't necessarily like your competitor is going to take over an entire area of your business. It is other things that could happen outside of your business that could then impact day-to-day operations. This is a really good opportunity to then also talk about quarters. So quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four, and look at planning within that. So what do you want for 90 days, right? So quarters are split into 3 months, 90 days, and you can think of it as clear goals, action items, and metrics to measure for each of those areas, right? So you're looking at your financials, you're looking at your staffing, looking at your programs or revenue, and then also looking at you, right? Because as a business owner, we'll often focus on our staff, we'll focus on our teams and all these incredible things, but we want to make sure that we're putting in those goals for us. So for example, if you liked being on the mats, being able to still have the opportunity to coach one or two teams throughout the year, or were you on the mats too much and you need to make sure that in the upcoming season or upcoming year, you're coaching a little less so that you can focus on your business and not in your business. Another thing to think about when you're planning is staff holidays and your holidays as an owner or a director. So, do you know what holidays your staff want to take? Or if they booked out trips in the upcoming year, do you know when they are and making sure that you have a plan in place to cover those times? As a business owner, when do you want to take time off? Because time off is so important. And you will likely push that, okay, you need to take a break. Your staff members need to make sure that they're well and they're rested and they're ready to go. But we'll often put ourselves on the back burner. So making sure that what do you want to take this year? Do you want to take a week off? Do you want to take 2 weeks off? Do you want to not work during the holiday season? What are the different things that are important to you and what are the non-negotiables that in the upcoming year you want to make sure that you do. So do you want to be able to check your kid into bed every night at 7 p.m.? Do you want to be able to not work on weekends because that's when you have time with your partner? So what are you doing to make sure that those goals in each of the quarters is being able to be implemented? Okay. Okay, so number 2 section is finances. So I love finances. I am one of those people that loves data, but I also know that most gym owners don't love spreadsheets. You didn't open your business because you love spreadsheets and you love numbers. You opened it because you love working with kids, you love the sport, you love being able to showcase your passion and share it with others and help see their journey as they go across. But if you don't know your numbers, like I said, if you don't know what you don't know, your business is then owning you, right? So one thing you want to talk about is getting really a clear picture of your financial needs and your goals. So if you're not working with a accountant or a So if you're not working with an accountant or a similar sort of professional, so if you're not working with an accountant or a financial professional, that is something that you need to start doing, because your spreadsheet is probably not accurate, or what you have written down on a piece of paper is not accurate to what your business is actually doing. So looking at, just start with the basics. What did you earn versus what did you expect to earn? So what did you think was going to come in? What actually came in? What programs were profitable? What programs were not profitable? And why was that? Where did you have money that was maybe leaking through your finances? So staffing, where's your payroll really high? Is your rent high? Did you spend a lot of money on advertising in maybe areas that worked or didn't work? Did you buy new equipment? All things to consider. And then it's time, once you have that information, to know going forward how to budget. So making sure that you're looking at your fixed expenses, so the amounts of money that are not changing month to month. So your rent, your insurance, your, if you have a social media scheduler, that's the same thing every single month. If you have an accounting software that you pay for, and then looking at then looking at your variable expenses, so the things that fluctuate or change month to month. So payroll, maybe it is your heating, your gas, electric, water, sewer, depending on if you're on a fixed or a variable amount. Did you have marketing spend that varied month to month? Did you have equipment purchases or upgrades? So looking at planning out what you need to bring in for your fixed expenses, what you need to bring in for your variable expenses. And then if you haven't figured it out yet, make sure to calculate what is your hourly rate. Okay, so what is it costing you to open your gym? Okay, in that, so you're looking at your finances, you're looking at that. So other things to make sure that you're including some things. Some things to make sure that you're including in your budget would be staff training and development, certifications. So if your staff are needed to get their IASF or their ICU, they're having to do a provincial, if they're a varsity certification, anything like that, making sure that those fees are covered into your budget. Well, often people will think about their ad spend, so their Facebook or their Google ad spend, but they forget to budget for their email marketing software or their social media scheduler. So make sure those are included. And then, are you doing any staff raises, or are there any increases to the minimum wage? So Ontario, for example, has just bumped theirs up. So are you having to adjust for that in the upcoming one, or are you wanting to give your staff some bonuses? So make sure that those are included in your budget. Even just a 30-minute check-in every quarter can help you save thousands of dollars, because you're actually reviewing what's going out and adjusting as you go ahead. But then it also allows you to see, okay, how am I doing? Where am I going? How am I doing against my goals? And what do I need to go do in order to accomplish those? Okay, the third one is marketing, which is probably my favorite, but we all know that. And this is where either you can just get stuck or you love it, right? So it's one of those things that it totally depends on the gym owner and it totally depends on the person. But a lot of gyms will just disappear from marketing. They'll post every now and then. It's an update here or there, an occasional, oh, we need last few spots for this program, so let's put up a post. But let me be very clear about this. Consistent marketing beats reactive marketing every time. And your marketing does not need to be complicated, and it does not need to be expensive, but it needs to be consistent. If it is not consistent, then you are trying to catch a bunch of fish with a kitchen strainer, and you are just trying and you are not setting yourself up for success when there are plans and systems that you can be using to make that more seamless and allow yourself to grow your program and show more families how incredible your programs and the impact they have is. So, for your marketing plan, it does not need to be complicated. It can be a Google Sheet. It needs to be written somewhere where it's not going to be lost, though. So writing it on a piece of paper is great, but taking a photo and uploading it into your owner's chat or your drive so that you can go back and look at it. So you're not just like writing it down and then, oh, suddenly 2 months later you can't find it because you've got a stack of papers this high in your office and there's a competition this weekend. So once again, you want to break it into different quarters. So you're looking at the winter, then the spring, then the summer, and then the fall. So thinking about for each section, what opportunities do you have in each of those? So what programs do you want to be marketing? What community events or public relations activities do you want to be involved in? Is there certain ads that you want to run at a certain point in time? Do you need to make sure that your website is updated and you know that on February 1st your summer camps launch? So you need to make sure that you have all the information and have all the marketing and everything prepared so that can go successfully. What it looks at, so hard to believe, but there's only like 5 months, 4 months if you start your season and tryouts in April, 5 months if you start trying out in May until the next season. So making sure that you're talking about people committing and converting into the next season early and planning ahead. When are you going to open up registration? Are you going to have an early bird? Are you going to have a regular? Do you need to make an all-star packet? What does that look like? What information do you need? So that you're not scrambling the week before the launch and just increasing your stress. There are 19 plus different things that you can do for marketing tactics. So making sure that you're mixing them up and using different things. Are you using Facebook and Instagram ads? Are you using Google ads? Is TikTok a part of your social media strategy? Are you utilizing email marketing? Are you using email sequences for new leads that opt in to see your class schedule? Are you partnering with schools or local businesses? Are you utilizing press releases after a competition to showcase your results? There are so many different things to do, but start with a few, get comfortable with those, and then slowly build. Don't try to tackle everything at once because that's going to set you up for failure. And like personally, if I look at something that has 20 things it has to do, I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know what to start. So start with small and then build and scale from there. Just like you did with your gym, just like you did with your program. Start small and then build from there. Okay, the last section that I want to talk about is delegations and systems. Definitely last but not least, because it is probably the most important part, because if your motivation wanes, so you get really excited, you're like, I'm going to put all of these into place, and then you get tired because you spent every week at a competition and you aren't sleeping as well because you've now had to drive 6 hours home, you're exhausted, maybe it's cold and flu season, you don't have full team practices, you now have to upgrade an entire tumbling sequence and a stunt sequence, you're like, oh my God, what do I do? Your motivation is going to wane. It's going to lessen in that moment as you try and juggle things, because as you add more things onto the plate, certain things take priority over others. But as your motivations wane or lessen, your systems will pick up that slack. So if you're still doing everything, like posting on social media, answering every email, you're the janitor in the gym, you're coaching on the mats, you're the bottleneck in that section. You can't scale without systems, and being able to delegate and help take some of those things off your time so that you can buy back your own time and fill it with other things that are going to help move the gym forward. That's what you need to make sure that your systems are doing. So the best question that you can ask yourself is, what can I let go of? So for example, cleaning. your staff, add an extra 15 minutes onto their shift and create a system where you're responsible for cleaning the equipment, you're responsible for doing the bathrooms, you're responsible for cleaning the fan zone, you're responsible for vacuuming the mats, which takes that ownership off of you. It also allows them to have an active part in how the gym is functioning, which allows them some more ownership, which allows them more confidence, which is what we want to do with our employees. We're wanting to build them up. We're wanting to build the person so that the rest of the business can continue to build. And then if you have junior coaches or younger coaches, giving them more responsibility and more ownership allows them to become leaders in your gym. And then you're able to move them through the hierarchy of your gym and help them then train other people. So with that, another thing is there someone in your gym that's really good at social media? Do you have someone on your team who does marketing outside of the gym? So can they do your TV presentations? Can they do your email newsletter? Can they do your email marketing? Is that something that you can train them on? And Dan Martell, if you haven't read his book, Buy Back Your Time, it's a great book for gym owners and directors to read. But he talks about that 80% done by another person well is 100% better than you doing it all the time. Because that's what allows your business to grow, is delegating and putting systems in place to be able to let you work on your business and not just in your business. So in the next week, look at the things that are giving you, like put them into green, yellow, and red categories, or like love, neutral, hate, drain you, whatever you want to like label that red one, and write down the tasks that you're currently doing in your gym. Green, the things that you love and they fuel you. Yellow are things that like doesn't drain you, but also you're not like super jazzed about, and they're kind of just like there and they're on your list. And then red, those tasks that you dread, the tasks that drain you, the tasks that you're like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. And you are procrastinating doing them in every other way that you can. Put those in it, right? So of those tasks that you're like, I'm not jazzed about, what can you delegate to someone? So for example, calling families to let them know about their upcoming class date. That's something that you can train a staff member on. Answering emails. That's something that you can create a system and train staff on how to do. So look at those and then look at that red column. Look at that dread, drain, hate to do column. And then choose one of those to delegate, automate, or outsource this week. I know that can seem a little challenging because you're like, this week, but what is one thing that you can do to take off your list? What is one thing that's going to help take off that like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. Or I have literally been avoiding it for 6 months. How can you delegate, automate, or outsource it this week by the end of this year? So you have 2 weeks till the end of the year. How can you outsource it before then? Okay, so another way that you can do that is making sure that once you create those systems, keeping track of them. So if you're using Trello, you're using systems like Loom that record videos and can create transcriptions from it, using a Google Doc to write it down, using those so that you can keep track of them, train them, scale them, and then take those things off your plate. Super important to be able for us to grow. And for you to have a successful gym, because at the end of the day, if you were to double the amount of people that were in your gym, you wouldn't be able to do that, right? So what can you do to make sure that as a business, you're building the people so that you can build the business as well? Okay, so let's recap really quick. To set yourself up for a successful 2026 or a successful year, focus on strategic planning and breaking your year into 90-day sprints or quarters or 90 days or 3-month sections. Getting financial clarity on your numbers and then planning proactively and not just reactively. If you're looking at your marketing, where is your momentum really taking off? Where is it slowing down? And mapping out campaigns and areas that you would like to grow ahead of time. And then finally, delegation. So start handing off those tasks that you are dreading. They are draining you so that you can feel better in your business and be more excited about growing it. And it's really important to remember that while you do it all right now, you don't have to do it alone. We have created a resource for gym owners just like you. It's called the Annual Planning Kit for Youth Sports, and it specifically walks through everything we've talked about today with a sports focus. So, not just like a general business of, oh, you should do this. It gives you templates, checklists, real world examples. It'll give you Google Sheets or Excel sheets to be able to fill out so that you can implement these items and scale your business with less stress. All right. If you have questions or you want to connect, send us a message on social media at TTB Media _consulting, or send us an email at help@ttbmedia.ca. Our inbox is always open, and we love chatting with people and helping gym owners grow their business. So that's the end of this episode. I hope that you're able to take some actionable steps away from it so that you can review your business and really look at making the next year the best year possible. So thanks for tuning in today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.